Hi everyone, my name is Takudzwa Comfort Madzivandzira, and I'm a PhD student registered with the Department of Ethology and Fisheries Science. The title of my presentation is Alien Species in Africa, a Story of Freshwater Crayfish Invasions. This research set out to compile up-to-date information on crayfish introductions on our African continent, which doesn't have native crayfish species except for Madagascar, with the aim of analyzing information on their introductions and to predict their impacts on other aquatic organisms as well as our livelihoods. From this study, I found out that our continent has been a recipient of 9 crayfish species, with 5 of those, namely European crayfish, Australian red claw crayfish, spiny cheek crayfish, red swamp crayfish, and marbled crayfish, establishing wild populations in 14 African countries. Crayfish were introduced into Africa as a way to address hunger and poverty, but there isn't much evidence of success. The establishment of wild crayfish populations in Africa's freshwater systems is a cause for concern, as crayfish are known to affect aquatic plants, aquatic insects, frogs, fish, and their eggs in other continents. In Africa, I found out that crayfish are linked to damage in agricultural water infrastructure, damage to fishing nets, and declining fisheries performance, which all affect human livelihoods. Not much has been documented about their impacts on other aquatic organisms, which is a knowledge gap that I identified. And to fill in this knowledge gap, I conducted laboratory experiments to predict impacts of 2 crayfish species that are spreading at a fast rate in Southern Africa, the red swamp and red claw crayfish, on various native prey in comparison to crabs, which are the only similar species to crayfish in African freshwater systems. I found out that these crayfish species consume native resources more than the crabs in most experiments, which poses a threat to our ecosystems that are being invaded by these crayfish species. This study therefore provides data on crayfish occurrences in Africa and their potential impacts in invaded ecosystems, which is vital for management and to compel policymakers to implement legislation to minimize further introductions or spread. Thank you for listening to my presentation.